Our hockey coach is gone due to the incompetence of Doug Armstrong, and now we don't have the chief. Yep, this is coming up here on Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I'm Haley Taylor-Simon. I cover your St. Louis Blues, and this is a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Honestly, today sucks. The Blues lost last night. I went to bed. I'm like, you know what? This was a bad loss. I'm going to go to bed. We'll talk about this. But no, Doug Armstrong unfortunately and wrongfully got let go of his duties of being the head coach of the St. Louis Blues. He's gone. He is no longer the coach of the Blues. The man that brought the championship into St. Louis for the first time is gone. And it's not his fault. So if there's one person to blame, it is Doug Armstrong, not Craig Berube. I want to make that uber clear. I also want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. I'm obviously upset. There's going to be a lot of venting on today's episode because this is absolutely ridiculous. The news broke literally 5 hours ago, and I woke up, I got dressed, and I'm going to talk about it. I'm upset, though, as you should be too. But seriously, what was Doug Armstrong thinking? He is the one that screwed up this roster, and Berube did nothing wrong. I understand they lost 4 games in a row. I am livid. I am so livid right now because there was nothing Chief could have done with this roster that was given to him. To be honest, I think he actually brought out the best in these players, but I'm not the one making decisions. I think that getting rid of somebody that brought you the first ever championship to your city is a bad move. And yes, I am upset for so many reasons. I am upset by the disrespect that went into letting him go. I am upset right now for so many reasons. Every single person that has at least watched one Blues game, that even knows what the St. Louis Blues are, knows that their roster is awful. You have all these no trade clauses. Okay, what is the coach supposed to do in that situation? Tell me. I think, seriously, out of every single thing that could have been changed about this team, getting rid of legendary Craig Berube was not one of them. And this falls on Doug Armstrong simply. Do not blame the players. Blame it as a team in a whole. What do I mean by that? What I'm trying to get at is this. Individually, when I see things like Jordan Kyrou is the reason to blame, no, he is not the reason to blame. You can never blame an individual player for this kind of decision. And frankly, that's inappropriate. What you can say is with the roster that was given to Chief, it was unsustainable from the beginning, meaning it wasn't going to get better. The roster sucks. Every single thing that Doug Armstrong has done for this team this past couple seasons has made it worse. He has made the St. Louis Blues worse. Not Craig Berube, not the one good thing about this team. I knew this was coming. This is what always happens. Whenever teams begin losing streaks or they begin to not be playing well and all that, who is the first to go? It's always the coach. It is always the coach of the team, nobody else. And I think that's the dumbest thing in the entire world. That out of every single change that could have been made, of course, it had to be our guy, Craig Berube. And Drew Bannister will now be taking over. He was obviously the coach of the Thunderbirds, which is our AHL team. And he's going to serve behind the bench today, Wednesday. I don't know, he's coming here today, Wednesday. He's going to be serving tomorrow. I'm so mad. I am also tired, but I am mad. I couldn't even fathom the news. As I said, I fell asleep right after the game. I had an episode planned to go up, and this news came out, and I'm stunned. I thought if any firing were to happen, it would at least be during the halfway point, maybe January. I did not think it would be this soon. What went into this? Maybe it was the loss to the Sharks on the road, losing to the Blue Jackets. I don't know. I don't know what Doug Armstrong was thinking, because I think this is one of the worst decisions that he's ever made. And he is going to absolutely 1000% regret this. Every single person knows that Craig Berube did nothing wrong and his job was taken away from him wrongfully. It was one of the worst decisions I've ever seen a GM make. And I've seen a lot of bad things. We, as a team, deserve better than to have a GM that's incompetent. Sometimes I like what Army does, but this was a move that completely ruined my like for him whatsoever. I will not defend him. There's nothing that he can ever do now. And he had a 3-year contract that ran through next season, the 2024 to 2025. So losing 6-4 to the Red Wings, obviously that calls for your coach having to be fired. Like, are you kidding me? I know it was their 6th loss in the past 8 games, but that still doesn't justify firing him. He was our cup-winning coach. The guys respected him. The fans respected him. But what are you supposed to do when you have a bad roster? There is nothing that you can do as a coach besides having to deal with what you have. And this is the problem, St. Louis, is that now it is December 13th, and Craig Berube is no longer the coach of the St. Louis Blues. Due to the incompetence of Doug Armstrong, I'm stunned. This video today, I really was not planning on this. I thought there was always a possibility I made videos in the past, but I'm stunned. Imagine waking up and checking your Blues app, because that's what I do, and seeing the news that Chief is gone. I'm stunned, and I'm upset, and I'm angry. I hope he gets a job somewhere. I really do. I really hope, maybe the Senators, right? But I really hope Berube gets a head coaching job. 57 years old. He has a lot left in him. And with maybe a better roster, this would have never happened. It wouldn't have happened. He made all the great decisions with the lines, the pairings, the units, special teams, right? Power play, penalty kill. There was nothing more he could have done, but it's what he had. Or didn't have. Okay, but I do want to let you know I know it's so weird going into these reads, as I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so upset. About Sleeper. A new NHL season brings all sorts of possibilities. Robert Thomas could score 50 goals, and the Blues could hoist the Stanley Cup. And you can win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey. Because of Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you have to do, as I said, is pick guys like a Robert Thomas, a Jordan Binghamton, a Joel Hofer, a Justin Folk, to record more or less in their sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and more in a given game. To win 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 players' stats. You heard me, Blues fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail in your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. So obviously today's episode is all about the Chief and my feelings about what happened. And I just also want to say this. This has nothing to do with Drew. But do you seriously think letting Berube go and having your Thunderbirds AHL coach, and it's not that I don't like Drew Bannister, I do. I just, as I said, I don't think that's the solution. I don't think that's going to get the Blues to where they should be. And the only way to do that is honestly just get rid of players and try to bring in some more talent. And I thought that was the direction they were going in. I thought Army was cooking. I'm like, okay, he's cooking. When Persuzo ended up going to the Islanders, we're at 7th round draft pick for this upcoming draft. When Vanra was put on waivers, I thought they were going to maybe try to trade him. Nobody wanted him. He's on waivers. Okay. I thought they were making productive moves. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's wrong. Every single thing that was done to try to benefit this team was done incorrectly, and it's wrong. Now there's a situation where you need to ask yourself, what the actual bleep is Doug Armstrong doing? Getting rid of the one good thing about this team was not the solution by any single means. And sure, okay, you can argue maybe the guys weren't really listening to him as much, responding to him. Okay. So why rush to get rid of him? This seems like a move that was kind of impulsive, to be honest. If you want to get rid of your coach that brought you your first ever championship, that had a contract going until next year, right? There seemed to be a little bit of a rush in this decision. This is something that you don't do. You don't do somebody like that. It was not Berube's fault for the 4-game losing streak. They just beat the Golden Knights. I mean, granted, that was one of their 2 wins in 8 games, but still, they just beat the defending Cup champions. It's not Berube's fault. And this is where my anger stems in. I try to be calm. I try to be rational. But at the end of the day, I'm frustrated because this is not Craig Berube's fault. There is one person to blame about this decision, Doug Armstrong, but also why didn't nobody else try to stop this? I am at a loss for words. Well, I mean, I have a lot of words, but I have to be careful of the words I use on this podcast since I can't say some of the things that I want to say, not how I feel, but words that describe how I feel. I'm stunned. This is probably, I don't know how the team's going to move forward from this. He was the glue of the Blues. He was the Blues. I really don't understand how Armstrong thought this would make the team better. I don't. They're 1 point out of the last wild card spot. They are not a bad team. Okay, like maybe a little bit average, below average. But it's not like they were the San Jose Sharks that couldn't win their first 11 games of the season. Their coach wasn't fired. You don't do that. You don't do that. A 4-game losing streak is nothing. There are so many other teams that have had worse losing streaks, but their coaches weren't fired. It just doesn't make sense to me. It does not accumulate in my head that this was the solution. It seems to me like there's a bigger vendetta going on. I don't know. I just can't imagine any other coach coming in here being able to make this team successful when honestly you can't fix this roster. How did Armstrong seriously think that this would help? And that is the question of the day, essentially. Is Doug Armstrong just out to get the Blues? Does he have a vendetta now? Because this is an awful GM. And Berube is now fired. I've been contemplating how I could go to bed thinking, you know what, they'll bounce back. This is the Blues. Sometimes things like this happen. But to fire the man, probably the most beloved guy in St. Louis, and you fire him. I have one more thought I have left to share, but first I am going to tell you about I do want to let you know about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only. Available to U.S. customers. So, in conclusion, I said I had one more thought. This season will get worse. And if this is what Armstrong wants, if he wants the Blues to be a team that are not going to compete whatsoever, then he did the right thing in that sense. Not, he didn't do the right thing, but if that was his goal. I don't know what his goal is, but I can tell you this, that if he doesn't want to be a competing team, you ruin your last chance of doing so. Getting rid of a legendary coach and upsetting your entire fan base, probably upsetting the players too. Let's be for real. Like, the players are probably just as upset as you and I are. So there isn't any good that comes out of this. And I think their response, even what I saw on social media, I tend not to really look at social media before I do my episodes because I want it to be as authentic as possible. It's hard to say the exact reasons as to why we feel as connected. But maybe it does have something to do with him bringing home the cup, him being a great coach, him, he said this after tonight's loss. We got to earn it. This is Berube, by the way. You got to play the right way to earn it. Do the little things right. We scored enough goals to win the game, but in the end, we didn't take care of our front of our net very well tonight. It is easy to blame a coach, but at this point, it's the defense. And I've said that. This was his sixth season as the Blues head coach. He went, crazy numbers, 206, 132, and 44 in the spin. He was hired 19 games into the 2018-2019 season and had one of the best turnarounds in NHL history, going from absolutely last in the Western Conference in January to winning the Cup in June. The Blues won a good amount of games. They made the playoffs the following 3 seasons, but it just sucks, okay? It sucks. And I'm not saying that Bannister isn't good. He had the past 3 seasons with the Thunderbirds. He made it to the playoffs 2 times in the past 2 seasons, and it even included a trip to the Calder Cup in his first season. He was an NFL defenseman for those that don't know, but Berube, before here, he was the coach of the Flyers from 2013 to 2015. And then he was hired here, magic happened, and now he is gone. So this is to you, Doug Armstrong, and I'm talking directly to you. If there was one person that should have lost their job, it should not have been Craig Berube. He will be missed. This isn't something that fans will just forget. And I hope you know the consequences of what you did. This was probably one of the worst episodes I've ever had to do because I am that upset. And I can't say how I truly feel with the words that will get me in trouble. So on that note, I will talk to you. Let's go Blues.